everyone. Thank you very much for being here today with us. I'm very happy to have with us next to me Carlota Pi, Alexis Las Heras, and Eva Maria, and we will be speaking about Green by Design, how AI, data, and people are rebuilding energy. These three people, the three of them are founders, the three of them are entrepreneurs, and the three of them had the idea to build a green business from scratch. You know, all business can become green, but they have to make a lot of things happen, rebuild the way of doing things. But these guys did it from the beginning. So before we go into deeper questions, maybe let's start with you, Carlota, telling us a little bit about, okay, what is Holaluz?
So 15 years ago, I was in a bar together with my two co-founders, Oriol, sitting in the third row, Ferran, still keeping the fort alive in Barcelona. And we were there in that bar, thinking over a beer on what can we do to make this sometimes a little troubled world a little bit better. Then we decided that technology should be a backbone, could be a backbone for enabling households and small and medium businesses to join the energy transition. And this is what Holaluz is. We are an energy management tech platform that we've developed across those 15 years, over 80 million euro investment in that tech platform, so that we can connect independent power producers, either at scale, any sort of green technology, biomass, biogas, wind farms, solar, high-efficiency cogenerations, any sort of green production, independent power productions. We connect those guys, and over 12,000 solar distributed installations, so 12,000 energy communities that we start developing from 2020 on. We connect those throughout the energy management platform with the data layer that we put on top of it, because over 95% of our customers, they have a smart metering system. We connect them with more than 220,000 contracts all across every single zip code of Spain, with a revolutionary and unique product that it is a subscription-based product to consume their electricity, so that throughout technology and data, and enabled by trust and people, so we are able to offer green, cheap, and easy electricity to hundreds of thousands of small and medium businesses and households in Spain.
Wonderful. So you were one of the pioneers bringing clean, green energy to our homes, basically, no? And you also work with small businesses, etc. Wonderful. So Alexis Las Heras, you're co-founder and CEO of Lumio Solar. Right now you are more in the hardware part, no?
Yes. Well, we are more in the service part. So what we do is to operate and install solar installations as the company of Carlota, and what we do is any installation related to solar, as batteries, EV chargers, and even heat pumps, we install and then operate those installations during years. So the customers and clients can have a phone to call years later after having installed. So we are in the service sector, giving solutions to our customers.
Wonderful. And Eva Maria Lain, you're founder and CEO of Line Tech, and you are in the creator part, no? I think you have developed tell us a little bit more about Line Tech, because I'm trying to kind of say it myself and I can't, you know? Like a sustainable mining process. Please tell us a bit more about it.
That's all right. So actually, Line Tech is an R&D company dedicated to developing processes for the raw materials sector, and our biggest technology is the Helix process, which is it's a technology to obtain metal from mineral in an alternative way to smelters. So it's a way of doing this in a clean way. So it's environmentally friendly. We don't generate any waste, and compared to the smelting alternative, it means a 94% reduction in the CO2, in the carbon footprint. So it's a novel method of obtaining metal from mineral, and it's applicable to 80% of the world's reserves. So it's applicable to primary type of minerals, and it's a very sort of industrial company. At the moment, we have one industrial plant that is running at the mine of Rio Tinto. So all of this started back when I was doing my PhD in 2014, actually. But I set up the company in 2019, and we went through lab stage 2 pilots, and we've now been running the first industrial plant for about 2.5 years. So we've already kind of proved the concept at its largest scale.
So it took you 9 years, no, from the idea to be able to actually have the plant, like,
Yeah,
and
or a
be
bit
out
more,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, that's like well, but that's the way it works, right? With this very like deep technology solutions. What took you to actually? What made you look for a more sustainable way of obtaining metals? I mean,
So actually, it was a bit random because my PhD, to be honest, had nothing to do with this. So I'm a biotechnologist, and my PhD was on solar panels, but with bacteria.
Oh, really?
So yeah,
Amazing.
nothing to do really with this. But I'm a specialist in electrochemistry, and in the lab I just looked at different ideas, like random things, and this is one of the things that actually took my attention, and it seemed very interesting. And there just seemed a need to actually develop a process that was more sustainable than smelting, which is the status quo, and just looking at it from a different angle to where everyone was looking, because obviously I'm not the first person and we're not the first company to try to do this, but I think that by looking at it from a different angle, from a different perspective, we got to a solution that was completely different to what everyone was looking for before us.
and you got a major mining operator to bet on you, no? Like you're working with Rio Tinto, you mentioned before.
Yeah, so we're now at the mine of Rio Tinto. So we've got an industrial plant that's been running there for 2.5 years, and now we've got other projects on the pipeline. So hopefully we'll be able to put this on other mines soon.
Wonderful. Well, so guys, let's talk about green by design, no? How AI, data, and people are rebuilding the energy, the energy transition, basically, no? Because right now that's what we need. We need to go from whatever we had before to new ways of getting energy that are cleaner, safer, etc., etc. No. How do you do it, Carlota, from what you're doing now? And also tell us a little bit more about what is happening with Holaluz, because we know you had a rough 2025. But
Well, not 25. We have been
first
we have been
semester.
surviving the waves since 24.
But now you are doing awesome. So
Oh,
tell
yeah.
us how was
Yeah.
this process? Because here, I guess, we have an audience that has maybe some founders as well that had to go through a period of, okay, rethinking how do we survive this, no? And turn it around. So tell us more about it.
So look, technology is at the backbone of Holaluz, as I was explaining at the beginning. So we envisioned back in 2011 that technology should be an enabler for helping households and the small and medium businesses to hop in the energy transition journey. So then technology, of course, evolves, and the same word has different meanings in different, let's say, phases of the time. So when we started, so the first algorithm that we wrote for forecasting the energy demand from our customers was written by Oriol and myself, no? And that you remember that, yeah? So we wrote that algorithm, so we started feeding data feedback into that algorithm, then it came machine learning, then it came big data, and now we are, of course using AI-enabled tools, no, for making that algorithm better and better and better. No, that plus years, now 15 years of accumulating real data from customers that either produce or consume or both on an hourly basis makes us very powerful, because now our capacity to forecast demand is very good. And that's why we can offer such a product that is the fully subscribed, 100% subscription rate with no resettlement that we offer to our residential and small and medium customers. That is a product that's unique and allows us to differentiate from our competitors. No, that's one thing. And this is at the backbone. No? So then what happened? No? So energy transition companies, so we all suffered all across the world, especially in Europe, but also in the States a lot, since 2023. So first, when the Ukrainian war started, and gas prices skyrocketed, so the world was upside down. And energy prices went soared to the roof. And then that impacted into the interest rates. And then it started a financial crisis. And this financial crisis made money super expensive. And since our revolution, our technology needs CapEx, needs hardware, because of course the energy transition, that's been said, no? So founder of, so general manager of BlackRock said that many years ago, no? That the energy transition needs CapEx to be deployed. And this CapEx, it's not only technology, the energy management platform that we have, and so many others, but also it needs solar panels to be deployed in the rooftops, and it needs batteries, and it needs EV chargers, and it needs electric vehicles. No? So CapEx and infrastructure needs to be there. So then, since nobody was doing that, back in 2022, we decided to endure this, and that was they were like the perfect conditions to do that. But for doing that, so of course we needed to take debt, us and everybody else, no? Because 50% of our sales, I don't know how does it work at your company, Alexis, but 50% of our sales are financed through commercial banking, because families do not spend 10,000 euros or 10K. They do not spend them out of their pockets, so they go to the bank for a loan. Then interest rates soar after the as per the consequences of the energy prices because of the war, and therefore, so demand dropped instantaneously, so dropped by half overnight. And so to companies like us that were investing for the midterm, so I'm not talking about 10 years, but I'm talking that we were taking decisions that should be paying off in the next 2, 3, or 4 years, of course, we were left with investments that we couldn't carry on because our balance sheet, our structure, so our capital structure did not allow that, no? Because we did not have the solid equity to allow us to endure this journey. The same thing happened to many other companies, so all across Europe, in Germany, in England, in the States. So because, this is what it happened. And therefore, that forced us to redimension the company to the level of sales that we had by that time. Thank God, and that's something that sometimes that happens, no, right? That you maybe get unlucky for some things, but you get very, very lucky, or even luckier from other things that happen at the same time. No, that this happened. It was mid-23, by the end of 23, when AI exploded. No, because before, who have ever heard about ChatGPT before October 23? Yeah, nobody, right?
Those that they have heard of it, they are already like millionaires, no? Because they discovered it earlier, sooner than others.
So we were there in the need of reinventing things that we've been doing in a certain way for the last 10 years, even though, as I said, so we were keeping up with adopting the latest technology and the latest state of art of technology. So we were doing it. It's in our DNA. We were there in the very need of reinventing the way we do operations at our company, and then let's say, magic tool appeared. And of course, maybe if we were not have been in that need, we would not be the first ones, or we wouldn't have bet so hard on adopting AI, but it was a necessity, no? And so we did. And thanks to that, so I can say that now, we are doing more or less the same. So we are now June 26. We are doing more or less the same. I wouldn't say exactly the same in terms of volume or in terms of things, because we were doing lots of things that we really liked. But then at a certain point, we decided that, okay, this is going nowhere. So this is not moving the needle in our P&L, not even in the long term. But we are now doing more or less the same thing with 80% less of the costs that we were doing just 2 years ago, yeah? So I mean, and how is it, no? How is that transformation? It's not that just like, okay, we are now using all ChatGPT or Claude and they are having all the responses, because of course this is not. But we started applying in the critical process of the company, so little by little, and not on the process, but on the person that was in charge of the process, educating them and allowing them and helping them to understand what are the rules and what are the tools that they have at their hand reach. And then I was imagining my dad, no? because I remember him when he was a lawyer, when he bought his first fax. No? Have you ever heard about the fax? Some of you, yeah? It was a machine that you put a paper in, yeah? And then this information ended up with as another paper in the very
the other
remote
side
corner of the
yeah.
world, no? And then I remember my dad being super amazed about how information, how the transmission of information is going to change the way we work. And same thing here.
Yeah.
And now we have, so every 2 weeks, Thursday, so we have an all-hands meeting at Holaluz, so we've done that since the very beginning. And we have now people in tears, explaining how they developed and how they transformed the way they work. Coming from just like I was an operator collecting bad debt, which is like the most awful job ever, yeah, or one of those, no? Collecting bad debt, and now, so we do 100% automatized, and the bad debt collection success ratio that we have is like never seen before, no? And people in tears explaining with pride, okay, how I used to work like this. I was an operator for switching overnight contracts with the distributors, and now, so I have those 3 agents, and they present their agents, and they talk to their agents, and their agents have names, you know, and so, and they are like
amazing.
They are doing like they're experts, and you kind of like build this internal, you know, you had probably like a project leader, you know, because in the end you can use AI, but the thing is, how do you use it like to improve what you do?
Exactly.
You know, and that's very challenging. And maybe now we can ask Alexis, because you had to also pivot a little bit the product that you had, no?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more. What was it before? I mean, what did you do and why? No.
Just at the beginning, we started having like 2 businesses as Holaluz. One was fully service, and the other one energy platform. So you know, one interesting thing, you know, the energy sector is a high volume business. So when you shrink a little bit the market or you go up with a little bit the percentage you can borrow the money, all these things are really affected. So it was for everybody like a rough 2023, 2024. So I can feel that. And then so we switched it, or we pivoted to a full service company, and it's a very exciting moment because you can now apply AI in any layer of the company, and not just every layer, but also to be mainly AI born or native, so you can structure all your company based on that. So in Lumio, since 1 year ago, we have had a project where we have just human interaction where it's just necessary, or mostly we are working on that. And actually, like right now, we are operating 50% more of solar panels installed than 1 year ago with the same number of people. So 50% more. So can you imagine how much revenue is that, and how much more benefit? Because if you are doing with the same cost, and all this is like a wheel that data is feeding AI that is helping people to have better decisions and quicker, and then with that you can operate more and then have more data, and this is something circular that helps you just to stand out and to be able to have more. And as a company that is in the services or hardware and also in the software, it's super exciting because usually service companies are not allowed, or they don't have the opportunity to innovate that much in this kind of sense. And this is just changing everything. So it's a super exciting moment.
So you're also using AI to improve your operational part, no? Like
everything.
To be more efficient.
Yeah.
But not necessarily like not in the delivery, but in the back.
Of course, in the operational side, like to take decisions on how much solar panels to install to a customer, to even do execution plans for the installers, or to even order the things that you need to your providers. All these things are automated, and they seem maybe not very complicated, but at the end of the day, it just helps you to do many more things. And if it's not you that you are doing that, the company aside of you, Lumio B, will do it, and then you will be out of the market. So it's like mandatory to be implementing all of this.
Wonderful. Eva, you have been building your product for 9 years.
A bit more, like 12.
Even more, okay. So, but how do you use AI? Because 9 years ago, we did speak about AI, but under other name. No, we were speaking about machine learning. No, but in the end, everything ended up, it's AI. No, like it's the previous name of what we know now as AI. So how did you actually use these technologies when you were building this product that you have now?
So actually, our case is a bit different in the sense that obviously there's a huge opportunity for AI, but in our sector, I think that the fundamental aspect of our technology is more to do with electrochemistry and more to do with kind of more classic sort of advanced algorithms, but more classic in the sense that they're not generative and they're not sort of this new AI type thing. So it's more discrete boundary type algorithm. So we do have advanced computational automatization. So all our processes are actually very highly automated. It's real time. The response time is actually very, very fast. So our industrial plant, it's got over 500 sensors that real time are inputting signals into our algorithm, and it needs to respond really fast. So all of that obviously relies heavily on computation, on programming, but it's strictly speaking, it's not AI, so it's not generative, it's not sort of this new, which is good, but it's not like the new part of the new hype. So it's just more traditional programming. Having said this, where I do think there's an opportunity to use AI is in the context of optimizing our technology, of iterating it, and obviously from the company perspective as well. So in all of our more corporate processes in the background, so we're trying to start implementing AI as well. But it's true that in the actual factory, at the industrial plant, people do ask us a lot, and the algorithms we use technically, they're not AI.
Yeah, and also how do you operate as a company? No, because I mean, these guys like improve their efficiency like in double digits because of AI, and that's already something, no?
Yeah, obviously. I think from a company perspective, it's very interesting. Also, the agentic side of it. So I think there's a huge opportunity to use AI, but it's just that it's interesting in the sense that the core of what we do, it's not AI. It's a lot of programming, but it's not AI per se.
And for programming, you don't use like AI to optimize the programming you do, or?
Not so far. There's an opportunity there, so I'm
You
sure
will for sure.
I'm sure we'll do it. But it's true that so far, it's something like so specific that requires a lot of thought behind it, and so far we didn't use it. I'm sure we will in the future.
You will.
Yeah. Like our CTO 2 years ago, he was like, no, I'm not going to ask ChatGPT or whatever to solve this problem. And then from one day to the other, he was checking everything with AI, even though he's like super techie and super into that. But maybe it doesn't apply to your...
I'm sure we will. And to a certain extent, there are a lot of aspects that I'm sure we will. It's just that, so far, like the core, it's like a bit more traditional, but well, I'm sure we'll open up as well. To AI.
Because what you're doing is also, you have longer processes, no? So you just cannot say, you can just like say, okay, now I'm gonna do it with AI.
No, but for software programming. So I remember, so when I was coding, so we used to type in every letter of the code, Then only 10 years later, so they were working just with libraries, with frameworks. So, and then part of the codes were already done. So, and they were like kind of pulling and dragging parts of the code. And now you don't need to pull and drag because so you need to just prompt, and then the code gets written. So like, it's like a tool.
I remember forgetting a point in the code and just the whole code not working. Crazy.
And where is that point?
So if anyone here needs some, some help, some guidance, you can ask. You can ask them after the panel ends. But before, because we have only 3 minutes, I wanted to take questions from the audience, but I think we won't have time because I want to ask you something, especially because you are like the most mature company. You are the only one that's public, right? These two guys are in the process of making something big, right? So when did you decide it was time for Holaluz to go public?
So it wasn't a decision that we took this way. So the thing is that we wanted to raise capital for growing faster, in fact, for investing in this capex for starting up what we call the rooftop revolution. So by that time, we were already a quite big company because we had revenues for over 100 million already, and then we were profitable and so on. So, and then it was hard for us to raise money in the world of the venture capitals. And then private equities were not like our kind of people, yeah? So because we were like, everything was about to be done yet, so we did not master it. So we were not at the maturity of like, that our game plan was like kind of exact. Well, not tradition, because the thing that they do PEs is like, they find efficiencies in the process, no? And we were there in a growth phase. And then somebody knocked on our door, Impulsa Capital, people that we absolutely adore, and they told us, okay, why don't you go public? And I was like, but this is not for us, right? So, but there's a secondary market that is for tech companies in Spain. I was like, really? And then we started with the process, and it was like a little bit like, okay, let's do some baby steps and see whether it works. And we ended up raising up 40 million in that. So it was like the IPO, the biggest IPO that has been done in the BME growth, so theme is aside. And for us, it was a very good decision by that time. And now everybody asks me the same question, but now would you do the same thing? Of course, you cannot judge the past with the information of the future, yeah? So then if I were to be back in November 2019, would I be doing the same thing? Of course, yes, because it was for us a very efficient way to finance our growth. Now, is it a good thing to be listed? Well, I hope that we will have better moments. Yeah.
No, but I think, I mean, yeah, you made the decisions with what you had back then, and now, I think it's harder to go public. No, you already did it. You forget it. You already did it.
Check,
Stop.
check.
Yeah, check. Okay, it's done. Well, you see, we made it on time. I'm not going to take any questions because I was asked to be very, very strict with time. So thank you very much to all of you for being here with us, and thank you to our amazing speakers for these very impressive stories. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.